runs at the top and under. My Take steps out to Scotland and New Zealand for some logic-defying happenings there. Gachuri's punchline punches some logic into party politics here at home. Jamila's memo digs out for whatever logic behind the transfer of grade 7 pupils to class 8. And logic is a mix of thorns and roses on Kai Kai's kicker. The news gang starts right now. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you. It's good to have you here with us once again this Thursday. Let's begin with Wednesday, which seems to be a rather infamous day at the Matiangi residence. Yesterday, yet again, the police were there, or shall we say the police were there yesterday. Was there a court order? Was there none? Gachuri, what were they doing there yesterday?
Like you rightly put it in the intro, a raid to confirm the raid. You remember we were here on Thursday and we were discussing the supposed raid on Wednesday last week. And so yesterday, the officers went to Matiangi's home. Now this time, they were saying they were armed with a court order. I remember that altercation between the leader of that operation and Dunstan Omari and Sam Nyaberi, lawyers representing Dr. Fred Matiangi, the former cabinet secretary. And he was asking, where is the court order? And they were saying, we have a court order. I remember that discussion started in Kiambu County, at the Kiambu Law Court, where an order was sought. We saw a document of that sort. And then there was a discussion in the...
But the order was for what?
Actually, the demand was to have the security company managing Matiangi's home be compelled to release CCTV footage of the alleged Wednesday raid. So they were actually asking for footage between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. on Wednesday. Okay,
that's Wednesday last week.
That's Wednesday last week.
Got it.
So obviously that would then cover the entire period, even when there is alleged to have been a raid by the police officers. After the Kiambu application, there was a similar application yesterday at the Milimani Law Courts, which was declined by the magistrate, and an order was that the matter be mentioned early next month. Then we are told the same officers went to Makadara, where they allegedly obtained an order. We haven't seen, at least personally haven't seen the order, but that is that's what we understand. And so it was an order to overturn the earlier order in a similar court of similar jurisdiction.
Yes.
Of course, they broke in, the officers broke in, and Seth Olale was on site, alikuwa ground, and we saw what happened. But I saw a lot of footage on broken doors, a lot of stuff that happened there. Yeah. And we are also told that they carried hard disks, they carried monitors and everything else, basically to go and supposedly now confirm whether there was a raid on Wednesday last week. You'd say that which we were talking about last Thursday happened, and the police officers, is there use of police officers for certain things? Obviously. And goes to tell you what happens in our country. Today you have power and you're in power. Tomorrow you don't have power, you are out of power. And a bit of the treatment that you accorded others is accorded to you, not necessarily a good thing, because two wrongs won't make a right. So that is where we are. Yeah,
but it also goes to show, Jamila, you can obtain a court order or you can be denied a court order in one court and then get a similar order in another court. Yeah. Interesting things happening.
That was very interesting. And I remember when we were watching the happenings live from here with Seth Olale on the ground, Dunstan Omari, Matiangi's lawyer, was there. And he kept going on and on about, what court order is this? There was no court order. They tried getting court orders twice. They were not given. I don't know what they were doing. And he was among those who were denied access into the home while the officers were in there. And I think what was interesting visually as we were watching this happening and unfolding was the sheer number of police vehicles that were there and the number of officers who were there. Because by the time our team got there and we were airing the news live, we had a lot of vehicles outside and a few officers. And then suddenly we have a huge number of them coming out of the former cabinet minister's home. And there were many. And they got into their vehicles and left. I think we were counting. There were about 7 of them.
Yeah.
And they all were full of officers. And then, of course, now we managed to speak to the guard at the gate. And it was interesting what he said. He said because they came and he tried to stop them from coming in, he was put in the boot of a car.
They broke in?
They broke in, wakambeba, wakamwingisha kwa boot, and he was held there for about an hour. And then they went into the house and they ransacked and they came out with the CCTV equipment, as they had said, and the equipment was taken to DCI headquarters, and the DCI did confirm that that's what they had gotten from Matiangi's home. And then what was interesting again was that we had Azimio leader Raila Odinga, almost one of the first people to arrive there, and we had him in the news. And of course, he complained about the treatment of Matiangi and what they were doing to him. Of course, Matiangi himself was not at home during the incident. But then now, of course, we talked about last week about the politics of it or not. But then the presence of Raila Odinga there and the fact that he says, Kwani anaonewa, why is this happening to him? Yeah, if things are supposed to be done, they should be done according to the law. And here we have the investigating arm saying we did have a court order. So it's a bit of a mess, even if you look at it visually. And the perception that it creates really is what the hell is going on?
Right.
Because it's not really clear and it's a bit messy.
Yeah, and what else is not clear is whether Dr. Matiangi is being investigated for something. We've talked about the Ruaraka land scam that has come up, and the nature of that. It could be that, it could be something else. I mean, he was, in cabinet for a long time. We're still not clear, Linus, on that overall investigation. I mean, this was an investigation into the raid, supposed, last week, but we still don't know what he's being investigated for, if at all.
The statement by the Director General of the Criminal Investigation, that's DCI, Mohammed Amin, he released a 9-paragraph statement to explain, and remember it was titled Progress Report on Dr. Fred Matiangi Alleged Raid. Mm-hmm. And it goes all the way down to the 8th paragraph, where it says that this afternoon our officers obtained a search order to obtain CCTV recordings from the home of the former Interior Cabinet Secretary to establish the facts around the alleged raid. Upon completing our investigation, we will take action if any officers from any security agency was involved or were involved in any unauthorized activities, or if any false information was knowingly disseminated by anyone to the public. So when you look at this statement, what happened at Matiangi's house was down to trying to explain or establish whether there was an initial raid, as alleged. And the statement, for the first time accurately, describes the events of the previous incident. Because there was the perception that this was aired on television, there were questions, and I think the DCI was asking the media to do self-introspection, apologize and all that. But in the paragraph 7, he actually says, we have also taken note of the allegations made by lawyers who held a meeting with Dr. Matiangi before the complaint was lodged on live TV. Which is a very accurate description of what was happening there. Our cameras were present on the ground to record the complaint. And you remember we had the lawyers of Mr. Matiangi, and there was the Azimio leader as well who said the things that he had to say about the events of that day. So the statement only justifies what the raid was all about. But again, the optics, the number of vehicles that were involved in the
operation,
in the operation, again points to what the police have always done in similar events, which is show a lot of force, overwhelming force. I mean, when you look at that deployment, that should be quite substantive, even in terms of deploying to a more troubled area like Northern Kenya.
That's right, and it just, like we said, the past replicating itself, in the present. You remember there was 200 members of the police service who were sent out to Ndindi Nyoro. That was about, 3 years ago? And we see the same thing happening, so you wonder if it is, having the same treatment. At some point, the cycle has to be stopped. But, you know, we shall see what happens. Maybe next week, Wednesday, there might be
another raid
or another development in this regard. We shall see. We will be here on Thursday to discuss that. But, you know, now that we're talking about operations here in Nairobi, there's also